I am joined today by the wonderful Brooke McIntosh, who came into my life only recently, and I was just like taken aback by what Brooke was doing. And the more that I learned about Brooke and her journey and what she has been through, I was like, I need to chat to this girl and understand a little bit more about all of the different things that have made you into the person that you are embarking on this journey. So welcome to the show, Brooke. Thank you for being here.
It's so great to be here. And when you reached out, I was like, yes, this is like the conversation I've been waiting for, and the divine timing. It's just perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just chatting to Brooke before this because obviously she's in a bit of a crunch time mode of training, but I would love for you to explain like who you are, what has occurred in your life, and what are you trying to do at this point in time? What is your challenge that you're undertaking?
Who is Brooke McIntosh? It changes from times to time, but right now, like Brooke McIntosh in a pinnacle is just a resilient mofo who just doesn't give up, loves a challenge, but also loves to push through the challenges as well. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a resilient mindset coach, and I'm an athlete too. I love to run. And that's kind of how you would have come across my page, through running and through my story of running 1600 Ks and now about to embark on the run around Australia for mental health. I've overcome a lot of hardships and adversity in my life, which I'm sure we'll work through today and talk about. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I feel like that is just like the shortest version ever of like who you are, because there's just so much that we can dive into. I guess we'll start off with you talked about you have run 1600 kilometers before, is that right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're about to embark upon what is just mind blowing to me, running around Australia. So what is that distance for the other people listening?
So the around Australia distance is 14,080 kilometers. That's the route I'm taking. So it equals 2 marathons a day for 6 months straight. That's how we're going to be breaking it down to achieve it. Previously,
I can't even comprehend that.
I know, and it's crazy when people are like, I can't even comprehend it. And inside my mind, I'm like, it's just one more. And that's the mantra that I've lived my life. And I'm like, it's just one more day.
Yeah. And I guess you've kind of touched on a little bit about some of the challenges, or even coming to that point of having the mantra of like just one more. How did you come to this point in your life? Like what has occurred that kind of created this mindset? Because I know that like intrinsically you probably have like a little bit of that resilience and go-getter attitude, but I mean, something has amplified that. And what was that amplification for you?
Yeah. Just one more is my mantra for life. I have experienced, go deep, I've experienced anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. The week that I was going to that I planned to take my life, I kept saying to myself, just hold on for one more, just one more day, just one more day, just one more day. And the week that I was going to take my life and I was in the depths of suicidal ideation, I don't say marvelously, but I say it was a miracle. I was driving along the highway going 100 kilometers an hour. And as I was driving along the highway, I got T-boned by a truck. Somehow I held on for one more day and I survived that major car accident. And that's where just one more for me was like, fuck, if you hold on for just one more, you can overcome anything, and you can also achieve anything if you go just one more. So that's where that mantra fully just lit up in my head. And I was like, I held on for one more day. I've been given a second chance at life. Now, how do I actually want to take just one more step forward? And what do I actually want to achieve in my second lifetime now? And this is how the 1600 kilometer run come about. This is how now the Australia run has come about. And it's how I've overcome adversity. I held on for one more day and I seen the light, because the biggest wake up call for me in that truck accident was I didn't want to die. I just wanted my pain to end. I wanted suffering to end. And I think in life, it's what we all want, is we want the pain and the suffering to end. So it didn't end until I seek the support, and it didn't end until I actually chose different choices and to actually ask for help. But that's what just one more, the mantra, and that's kind of where it really all stems from, was that truck accident. That was just like, one more day.
Uh, I literally got goosebumps while you were sharing your story. So thank you for sharing your experience, because it's very not overly similar, but I was in a roller coaster accident when I was 10 years old. And so I had gone through the anxiety, depression, the suicidal ideation, but mine was kind of in reverse. So the accident occurred and then the mental health issues started as a result of it. So I think but the kind of like resolution that I came to when I was thinking about taking my own life was that I didn't want to die, but I couldn't continue living the same way that I had been living. And so it's so, like, it gives me chills thinking about it. Like, these moments, the darkest moments of our lives, are often where we have the most kind of like life-changing epiphanies of how we want to shift or change or kind of become something other than what we have become previously, right? So in that moment where you had that realization, what was, obviously you had to recover because being T-boned by a truck is a pretty epic collision to be involved in. So I'm sure there was some broken bones involved with that. Was no, nothing?
Nothing. I had severe whiplash and that was it. So I had a few chiro appointments to realign my back. Other than that, I had no injuries.
You that is literally a miracle, right? Like that, for you to be able to walk away from that incident, that is literally like just something shining down on you to say, nope, not today. You're going to be okay. That is
Yeah.
insane. I'm like, I just cannot believe that you walked away from that. Wow, my mind. I need a moment to like kind of like come to terms with that. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
I guess my question to you then is, when you had this realization, you realized how miraculous it was that you kind of came out of that relatively unscathed, and you had this realization that you wanted to continue living. What were your first kind of shifts that you made in your life?
I chose myself before anyone else. Yeah. Because when the truck accident happened, I regained consciousness within about 2 minutes. And when I regained consciousness, I jumped straight out of my car, ran over to the truck driver, ran over to other people involved and made sure that they were okay. And I picked up my phone. I was on my way to a high school to deliver a talk about confidence. And I picked up my phone and I called the principal. I said, hey, I'm just going to be 5 minutes late. I've got caught up in an accident. I'll be right there. And I was stuck in this shock and like fight or flight. But I was like, cool, I still got to be there for everyone else. I got to do what I said I'm going to do. And then I put the phone down. I took a step back and I just breathed and I looked around and I'm like, what am I doing? This is how I've been living my life, pleasing other people, trying to give so much from and pour so much from such an empty cup that I didn't like myself. And it was just becoming depleted. And I was living a life that was not in alignment to who I wanted to be, but I was living a life of the life that I thought I had to live to be loved, to be accepted, to be validated, to fit into society's expectations. And that's what led to this. And my biggest wake up call after that was, babe, put yourself first.
Yeah.
Like, look at what's just happened. And you're automatically jumping straight back into save everyone else. And put yourself first, because if you can't save yourself, how can you be good to anyone else?
Yeah. Where did you first learn to put everyone else first?
My parents divorced when I was 2 years old, and then my mum remarried, and my mum and stepdad divorced when I was 12 years old. And when I was 12 years old, that's when I was forced to step up and to raise my younger siblings, because my mum had to go FIFO to be able to sustain the home environment and to be able to provide for us kids. So it was like when I was 12 years old, it was like I was bombarded with this responsibility that no child should have. But it was like, here you go, look after your three younger siblings, off you go. Get yourself ready for school, do your homework, get the three younger siblings, make the lunches, make the dinners. By the way, you've got to start working when you're 13. And it was that moment that I was just like, all right, Brooke does not matter. It's everyone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how quickly we can adapt to these things that we're not really ready to adapt to, right? You're not ready to take on that kind of motherly role to everyone else. You're still a child, but we have the capacity to take on so much more than we ever think that we're capable of. And I guess, like, to our detriment often because we put our own needs below. But I guess that's also kind of a similar vein of what you're currently undertaking, but in a positive, like shifted into a positive way, like taking on so much more than what you probably ever thought you were capable of, but on your own terms. So like reclaiming a lot of your sense of self and your power and your actual confidence, like true, authentic confidence in knowing that you can actually do the hard things, but it gets to be your choice to do those hard things. And I guess like my way of like looking at you is obviously we go through these like hardships, but they can kind of make or break us, right? And I feel like you've kind of risen to the occasion at multiple points throughout your life. Why on earth would you want to continue to put yourself through difficulties or challenges or hardships? Like, what does this actually mean to you? And what does it actually like, what is it that you're hoping to achieve through this?
When I crossed the finish line, so when I ran 1,600 kilometers, I didn't know what was going to be required of me. I just went into it blindsided and I just went, just one more. But I loved who I became on that journey. I regained my personality. I regained who Brooke McIntosh was. I regained my spark, my joy for life. And I believe I found my purpose. I love talking. I love inspiring. I love helping people. And I love running. It just comes through on running as well. So when I crossed the finish line from the 1,600 kilometer run, I crossed and I was honestly the best mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual position I had ever been in. And I was like, why am I stopping here? So then I was like, the week after, I went and ran a marathon because I was still like, I just loved it. And yeah, I did recover. I had a lot of downtime as well. And I just got thinking, I was like, I want to run around Australia because I want to help other people see that there's hope. But like you said, I want to push my limits to see how far I can go, but also have just one more conversation because mental health is so important for me. And I truly believe that a lot more people need to start taking better care of their mental health, just as well as we take care of our physical health. And yeah, when I crossed the finish line, I was like, I just believe that there's so much more that I'm capable of. Like, let's go again and go all the way around Australia.
I love it. And I guess this has probably started some pretty interesting and intense and intimate conversations with lots of people that maybe you weren't expecting to when you first started out on this journey. Have you found that you have been able to put yourself in a position where people do want to chat to you about things that maybe haven't been able to mention to other people before?
Yeah, I'm finding running is very therapeutic. Yeah, it's hard, but it's very therapeutic. Running and running next to someone and having a chat at the same time, I'm finding a lot more people are being more vulnerable with me and opening up deeper. And they may come for a 2-kilometer run, 3-kilometer run, 5K run, whatever it is. But I'm finding that, yeah, a lot more people are opening up and I'm helping them shift through their stuff or try and make sense of it. And they're feeling a lot better too. I'm creating those safe spaces, which is great.
Yeah, and just physiologically, like obviously running is releasing a lot of endorphins as you're kind of moving your body, but I've always found that movement, specifically like bilateral movement, like left, right, really helps us start to process and like integrate some of our past experiences. So like combining the two things, like running and being able to be vulnerable gives you something other to focus on, but it gives your brain the capacity to kind of reach different brain areas to process this information and memories and experiences. So I think you've kind of like hit the jackpot on making an impact, not only your life, but other people's lives too.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is when I trained for the 1,600-kilometer run, every long run that I did before that, I had a mental breakdown. And then on the other side, it was a big breakthrough. So my runs, when I was like running 40Ks or 50Ks, I would be running and then all of a sudden I'd just start bawling my eyes out. And then I'd make sense of everything. And then I was on a peak for the last 10 kilometers and I ran faster. And I'm now, only just now, I'm starting to tap into that again for myself. But what's really cool is I don't shy away from my emotions. So if I'm out there running and I want to have, like, if I have tears coming down my face, I'm like, cool, this is what's happening. This is what needs to process. But by me doing that and allowing myself to do that, other people come run. And even if they don't talk and they're still making sense of things inside their head, and say if like they see me crying or they just like see me shifting through stuff, it gives them permission to do the same as well. So even if we're not talking, we're still working through things as well.
Yeah, that attunement is so important. And having that, I think sometimes we kind of overlook the power of just being with someone else that kind of understands our own experiences without verbalizing anything at all, right? Like, you know, when you're in the presence of someone that kind of just gets you and understands and goes, yeah, like you can walk with me, you can run with me, whatever it is, but we don't actually have to talk about this in order for this to be a powerful experience. Like, we can share each other's nervous system and share this moment together. And that's going to be a part of your journey and your processing as you go along too. And I just find it so fascinating because the work that I primarily do is like through nervous system regulation, through movement, and then was like seeing you and your journey. I was like, wow, this is just like the epitome of like what I share and talk about. What has been, I guess, obviously getting ready for this huge run has been a big process. Even just like logistically, like thinking of like the route that you're taking and how you're going to do it all. Do you do this by yourself? Do you have a team of people? What has been the process of actually getting ready to do this run around Australia look like for you?
It's been a hell of a process. Like, a lot of people just see the conditioning of the body and the training, but there is so much more that goes into it. It's like you said, it's the logistics. So I do have a team, and I've started to I used to never ask for help because I was putting everyone else first. And even this run is requiring a whole new level of me and for me to become a whole different person again. And what I'm working through now is the ability to ask for more and more help, especially from the outside community. So I've had to break down my walls and put down my walls again and be like, I need more help. I need more help. So there is a team behind me. We're doing a lot more, like, it's logistics, as in like organizing the caravan, organizing the car, organizing sponsorships, organizing the roster, organizing the marketing, the content, podcast interviews with the radios, run clubs, schools to come on board. There is so much more that's going behind the scenes. But thankfully, I've got a team who's helping me do this as well. There's only like 3 or 4 of us, so I'm doing still a lot of organization. But right now, it's like planning stages so that when I'm out on the run, everyone knows their positions, everyone knows their roles and responsibilities, and I can just run.
You can focus on what you're doing. I think you kind of like highlighted something that I think a lot of people struggle with in asking for help, whether it's just like something simple in our life. Like, I'm the first person to admit that I'm like pretty stoic, independent person where I'm like, no, I can do all of the things until I kind of fall into a heap and I'm like, wow, I shouldn't have done all of that by myself. What advice or support would you give to someone who is thinking, no, I've got to go through this by myself. I've got to deal with this issue by myself. I have to figure it all out on my own. What would you say to them?
It's so cliche, but 1, you actually don't. But 2, the cliche quote is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It is so true. And what I say to everyone that really had my mindset shift and my perspective shift on asking for help is, when I give help, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm giving love and I can help someone. And I feel really good internally. I'm like, yeah, I can help you. And when I don't ask for help, you're actually robbing the other person of those feel good endorphins and those like of being able to give you help as well and feeling the same way that you feel when you give help. So that, and then I asked myself, I was like, well, am I selfish? And ask yourself, are you selfish? 9 times out of 10, you're not. So stop being selfish and robbing the other person of giving you the help that you need and deserve as well. And one thing to say that, and then it's like, all right, cool. No, I'm not selfish. I'm going to go ask for all the help. Then you're going to block up against your mind. You're going to block up against your inner critic, against a strong, independent woman that goes, no, actually, I can do this. And when that comes up and hits you in the face, for like what's really worked for me in the last 2 years is to count back from 5 and just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have the conversation. And it's just a conversation. It's not necessarily, hey, I need some help. It's, hey, can we have a conversation around this? The other person on the receiving end is probably going to be like, sure, let's have a chat. It's just a chat. And then the help comes after that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're so right in terms of how we innately as human beings want to help one another. We kind of have that intrinsic interdependence of like needing each other. And I think we forget that sometimes. And because we've become so isolated in society with social media, but also just the way in which we live right now is very like individualistic. And even with our families, we're kind of moved away from being these cohesive communities in which we are sharing and nurturing and supporting one another. And I think that for a lot of people is something that takes a long time to unravel. But I think even for myself, like becoming a mother was the thing that made me realize like, oh, I actually do need a lot of support and community around me in order to do the best that I can for my daughter, but for my family and for my business and for the things around me. Like, you can't operate in isolation. We need that interdependence as human beings to be able to thrive as communities and individuals alike. I'm going to switch it around for a second because obviously you talked about earlier how you put everyone else's needs before your own. So how do you go saying no to people when they ask you for help?
I learned about energetic hygiene and my values. Yeah. And I learned to instill boundaries and not just instill them, but hold them. And that's challenging to do. It is challenging to have a courageous conversation and to say no. But before I say yes to anything now, I always come back with, let me just check my schedule first. And then I allow myself time to be like, all right, is this true to me? Do I actually want to help? Or am I helping out of I have to help this person? I always connect with my truth and my authentic self and ask, is this true for me? Do I actually want to help? Do I have the capacity to help? Or is this something that is way beyond my capacity right now? And then that's where it's a no. It's a conversation to be like, hey, I would love to help. I can't help right now. I may be able to help in a week's time. And it's just more coming back to finding out your authentic self, living a life by your values and instilling those boundaries and being able to be resilient enough to hold them, even when it's uncomfortable to hold them.
Yeah. You just gave like the best piece of advice ever for someone not like having trouble instilling boundaries, because I feel like we all have that desire because of our need for interdependence. We want to make sure that we are looking out for other people. So it's really difficult to say no when we want to help someone, but we don't have the capacity to. And so I think that trick that you just said of, I'm going to check my schedule first, can I let you know, or can I call you back in 5 minutes, or can I like give yourself like 5 minutes plus to kind of think about what they're actually asking you, because I feel like our knee-jerk reaction is to always say like, yeah, of course, because that's what we want to do. And it's not always from this people-pleasing perspective, but from a perspective of like, of course I want to help you and I want to be there for you. But I think that simple trick of like, give yourself a tiny bit of space to actually go away where you're on your own and you can think about whether or not you have the capacity is really, really important. So for anyone listening, like that's like the gold standard, the golden nugget of this conversation is to just give yourself some space to be able to actually attend to what your body is responding to this request like. You also mentioned something called energetic hygiene. What's that?
It's, do I have the mental, emotional and spiritual capacity to do it? Because us as humans, exactly, we're like, yeah, I'll help you. And then we walk away and then we're like, shit, why did I say yes when I actually don't have the capacity? I'm so drained. I feel like I'm at a bottleneck with myself and how much more I can give myself, how much more I can give my family, my work, my personal. And it's really important just to check back in yourself. So take that 5 minutes and be like, all right, where's my energy at right now? And I always go clean or dirty energy. It's just super simple. Am I giving from a clean space, or am I giving from I have to give? And when you give from I have to give, I have to help this person, resentment starts to build up inside of you if you don't actually have enough capacity and good clean energy to be able to give. And when resentment builds up, you're going to get 6 months down the track of this person asking for help, and you're going to be like, fuck it, I don't want to help this person anymore. And I believe that that's back on the person for saying yes too many times. When you can instill those healthy boundaries, if you take 5 minutes away and say, actually, I don't have the capacity right now. So energy hygiene is super important. And that's just all about like, okay, where is this yes or where is this no coming from? Is it a good, clean yes? Or is it an icky icky, yucky, I have to do this, but I don't really want to do this. I've just got to be a good girl. So I've got to say yes.
Yeah. I like that clean or dirty energy. I think that's a very easy to digest way of thinking about yeses and nos is like, what does this actually feel like? Is it clean or dirty? And I don't know why, but the imagery that I brought up in my mind was like clean or dirty underwear. It's like, when you put a new pair of underwear on and you're like, this feels really nice. But like if you go camping or something and you forget your pair of underwear and you have to put the same pair on as yesterday and you're like, this kind of just does not sit right. Like that is a very good analogy for boundaries and how to determine. Sorry for that if that's too much information for people, but I think that's a great, fun way of thinking about it that kind of simplifies something that can often be like super emotional and tricky for us to navigate in day-to-day life.
And don't get it wrong. It's like when you start saying when you start saying no and you start instilling those healthy boundaries, it's going to feel icky at the start. It's going to feel a bit like, oh, is this the right thing to do? But that's where you got to take the 5 minutes for yourself and be like, that's true for me. It feels good. It feels good to say no. And then the more that you do it, the more that you say no to things that you would usually say yes to and you put yourself first, the easier it becomes. But it's going to feel a little bit icky, a little bit crappy at first. But that's where you got to sit with yourself.
Yeah, just like our muscles, we have to train our nose as well. But I would love to know, like looking ahead with this mission, how many days are you at now? It's 50.
Oh, until I go, I'm pretty sure I'm at like 39.
It's soon.
It's so soon.
So looking ahead with your new mission of running around Australia over 14,000 kilometers, just mind blowing. How has your kind of process, this journey, this experience so far influenced what your kind of vision of your future and the legacy that you hope to create changed for you as you've been going through this process?
Well, I can definitely say my self-trust levels is through the roof. Like I trust myself so much. And where I'm at right now being, I'm pretty sure 39 days out with the organization and everything. If I was at this point last time I ran 1,600 kilometers, I would have been freaking. But I just know and trust and understand that everything's going to work out. Everything will all fall into place. When I ran the 1,600K last time, I feel it was a journey of discovering who Brooke McIntosh is. It was a journey of discovering my personality again. This time, it is a whole new journey of bringing the community along. And that's where the vision has X'd and has evolved drastically. Like, yeah, cool, the distance is 10X, but now it's the community that has 10X, that I'm ready to invite more and more people in to help me create that impact. Because I know one drop in the ocean can be that ripple effect, but one drop, and if I try to do it by myself, the one drop's just going to go down to the ground. If I don't ask for the help and bring the community, and I'm ready to do, I'm ready to impact the masses on that level to create the ripple effect. That's where I see the vision going. It's like me, I'm one person, but I can spark those conversations for that massive impact all across Australia by asking for more help, inviting the community more along, being open and vulnerable enough to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go just one more.
And that's life, isn't it? None of us truly know what the hell we are doing, but it is about just going each day and meeting it as it comes to us. And I think you are the epitome of that resilient mindset of let's see what the next day brings and just allowing everything to kind of move in the way that it is going to move without trying to force or like push anything to occur in the way that we think it should go, but just going with it. So I am so excited. I can't believe, like, I like that you're also like, I'm not sure if it's 39 days. Like there's a bit of ambiguity around that, but I can't believe that you are embarking on this so soon, and I'm just in awe of you, and I think you are an incredible human, and I've only known about you for a few weeks, and every day that I see your stories come up on Instagram or posts, I'm just like cheering you on so hard. So how can people, if they want to get involved with the run itself, like how can people do that, or how can people get in contact with you or just be along for the journey? How can they best support you?
Through Instagram, and everything's on my website. So my Instagram is Brooke McIntosh _, and then my website is brookemcintosh.com.au. The whole run's on there. And also, to get more of an insight about what this run is about, there's also a documentary on there too to watch. It goes for about 20 minutes, but it is incredible. It will have you in all the feels and pull on all the heartstrings. Yeah, so through Instagram is the best source. There's also TikTok and YouTube, but I'm predominantly #1 Instagram.
Yeah. Can confirm Instagram is great for seeing all of the things that Brooke is up to. And I'll pop all of your details in the show notes as well so that you can all go and support Brooke, and definitely go for a little jog along the way as well to see how that feels for you to communicate, to verbalize, or to just run and move your body and see what comes up for you and what that feels like in the presence of a community of people who have similar or shared experiences. So thank you for your time, Brooke. You're amazing. I appreciate you, and I'm cheering you on. I will not be coming for a run because I cannot move my body that well at the moment, but I am cheering you on from the sidelines. So thank you so much for your time.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me on and sharing my story.
Yay. All right, let's stop record.